It is Tracy from Low Country Shrimp and Knits back for volume 2. Oh yes, of blocking situation here. We're blocking all up in here. So I was working on this a little bit ago, and because I am now actually open, like I said in my first one, I lived a whole life and it was amazing. And for some reason, Instagram was like, "Oh hell no, bitch! You are not recording when you're this much awesome." So they cut me off. I don't know what it is. It's definitely not because I know nothing about, IT stuff. It's definitely not that. So anyway, so we're going to talk about blocking. So the last little segment I had, we talked more about fibers, and kind of the delicacy of, how it's very delicate and just kind of how to approach different fibers. So now let's talk about blocking and cleaning your projects, because now we're getting to the point in our season that you're going to start to put some fabrics away, okay? Because you're not going to be wearing big, thick, heavy sweaters, scarves, hats, mittens, what have you, cowls for the season. So you want to be very careful about how you store and clean first your projects. Now, you don't want to just put anything away in the attic, okay? Because a lot of times there's some things on it, sediment, things that moths are attracted to. So that's the last thing you want to do is go pull out your inventory and be like, "Oh my God, it's all eaten," okay? Because moths are jerks and they will ruin your stuff. So what you're going to want to do is make sure it's nice and clean before you put it away, okay? Even if you can't see it, there's probably some residue there and some moisture. Now, you don't want to just throw it up in a Tuppermade or a Rubbermaid, Rubbermaid bin, because what happens is moisture gets trapped in those bins, okay? And it gets hot and then it gets cold and then it creates moisture in there that's going to probably, there's a good chance it could mold. There are chances it can, again, invite insects and other things in there to make lovely little homes out of your hard work. So you want to make sure that it is primed and ready to go. Some pieces that you have, they do recommend you can put it in like acid-free paper and wrap it up. And that's a little bit bougie for me. I'm kind of not that high maintenance. I want to say I am, but I'm kind of lazy. So, you look at your project, determine, all right, I'm going to clean this. If it's got something like really fluffy, fuzzy fibers at the top, if you've got a mohair, if you've got a cashmere, if you've got something that's got cables in it, you don't want things to sit on top of it, because what happens is then it gets squished, okay? It mats down those fibers, and then you're going to have to kind of re-poof them out in order to make it look beautiful again when you take it out in the fall, okay? So let's just talk about blocking in general. So you've determined that, yes, this is a project that can be blocked. We've talked about the fact that certain fibers are more delicate than others, and that heat is always challenging and there's always the potential to damage your goods if you put it, or shrink them if you put something in hot. Only a few things can be machine washed unless you're trying to felt it on purpose. Drying in the sun can be dangerous. Putting things in the dryer, generally a no-no. So what you're going to want to do is block it or clean it with the right stuff, okay? So if you're very scared, if you get nervous about like, oh my God, I just spent all this time and money and I'm afraid to put it wet, the first thing you can do, always check your labels. The labels are going to tell you, because every yarn is unique, right? Every yarn is different. Their labels are going to tell you, can you wash it? Can you dry it? Can you use heat? Should you steam it? Should you just breathe on it and hope for the best? Should you dry clean it? Most things don't, okay? Most things you should not dry clean because there's chemicals, and the chemicals will break down the materials in your inventory. But sometimes rayon needs to be dry cleaned. So again, follow your labels. But we've decided, yes, we know we're gonna block this. We've gotten the okay. We've read up on all the paperwork. We've even possibly done a swatch to make sure it's not gonna destroy it. So let's talk about, well, how do we do this at this point? All right, we've determined, yes, this is good stuff. So I made this hat, okay, and I made it's out of cashmere. And so I read up on the material here, and I've got it. It is wool and the gang, okay? So it is back for good cashmere. So I've got the two of these, and I've determined that, yes, it can be wet blocked. So the way that you're going to do it is, it's really simple, okay? So I use cold water. I never use warm water, because there is always a potential to shrink your garment, okay? And I don't want this to shrink because it's a hat. I got a little tiny pea head as it is. I don't need this little like Barbie-sized hat for my big brains, all right? So cool water. This has already been sitting out, so it's room temperature at this point. But so you're going to, you usually use this little bowl and things like that. Hello, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing today?
Good, just doing a little thing on blocking. So, and I'm getting new fun yarn.
There you
It's
go.
Christmas.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you too, Zach.
You on YouTube?
Yes, sir.
All right.
See ya. You know it. And so I'm going to use Eucalypt. Okay, I love Eucalypt. Okay, so here's the Eucalypt. They have all different kinds of scents, and so this one here is jasmine. Smells so good. At least I think it does. I used to remember it being good. I still have no sense of smell since COVID. Good times. But we have a bunch of different flavors with flavors. They taste delicious. Put them on a salad. Just kidding. Don't do that. So there's an unscented one. There's a lavender one. There's a eucalyptus one. We have jasmine and pink grapefruit. Okay, so those are the kinds that we have. So once you've got your water in there, okay, you're going to just use about a capful. Not much. It's very viscous. Okay, so here you kind of see this. I don't know if you can see it. It's pouring in. All right, so once you've got that capful, dump it in. And it kind of swirls around. Now, I recommend that you agitate it before you put your garment in. Because again, with these fibers, sometimes they're so delicate that any little bit of that will kind of cause them to rub their scales together and kind of join. So you want to just kind of mix it up, agitate it here, and mix it all up with your hands. So that way you're not risking anything going on with your garment. All right, so here I've got my hat. Now again, with cashmere, it's very delicate, so you just kind of want to place it in the cold water. All right, and you just let it kind of all absorb, and you want all of the scales and the whole follicle and everything that's going on with whatever it is that you're blocking to become submerged. Now, not everything should be wet blocked. Okay, some things should be sprayed, some things should be steam killed, some things should just be kind of scratched at and hope for the best. But again, when you're wet blocking, you do this. So you just make sure that you kind of put it in there, it's completely submerged. And then you let it sit. Usually I set a 15-minute timer and I get on Facebook and then I'm like, oops, what time is it? Have I done this? So you're just going to want to pay attention to it, all right? And so you just kind of let that sit and soak in, all right? And now just for the want to make sure that I'm not going over too much time here. So when you are ready to get your garment done, it's already blocked, okay? The last thing you want to do is twist, okay? If you twist and wring, it is going to stretch the heck out of your piece, all right? The beautiful thing about Eucalypt is that you don't need to rinse it. So again, you wouldn't want to just put anything in a faucet that's could possibly pull or stretch your fibers. You want to just very gently wring it out. Now, there are a lot of people, and I do this with sweaters and things like that when I am home, that you can put it in a towel, and then you roll up your towel, like I used to do, in college when you had your sweaters and not a lot of room. So you roll it up in your towel and then you can step on it and it's going to then wick some of the moisture away from your garment, all right? Once you have gotten it to the point where you're like, all right, there's no more excess water, and you're just kind of wringing it out, okay? And you've said, all right, I've done what I can do. The rest is up to nature, okay? So you're going to want to do most things you want to dry flat, okay? So we have all these great blocking mats. I've got these beautiful ones from Knitter's Pride here in the Mindful collection. Here's just an extra one I'd had at home, so that way I didn't have to bring all of my stuff in. And you want to dry it flat. So the point of blocking here at this point is you want to set your product. And when you're setting it, what you're saying to the world is, this is how I want it to look. So you want to put it in a way that's going to set it when it dries in this beautiful shape, okay? A lot of things won't change their shape too much once you block them. But blocking is going to kind of fix those irregularities. If you've got something that had tension off here or a stitch got flip-flopped here, this is just going to pull everything in, make it bloom a little bit, kind of set it so it's just beautiful. This is why you block. This is why we do this. Nice and flat. Then you're going to just kind of fix your stitches in a way that you want them to look when they're dry, okay? Because this is setting it, all right? So you're going to have it. So you wouldn't want to put your hat crooked, or you wouldn't want your bottom one side to be, like right now, this side's longer than the other. I don't know if you could, this side's longer than the other on the bottom. So what I would do is make sure it's all stretched to the same spot. If you have lace, you would put the rods in and then you would set it out so it was all opened up so that your project blooms and sets. Okay, once you've determined that you've gotten all your stitches as pretty as they're going to be, sometimes if you have something like a sweater, let's say, with negative ease, all right, and perhaps the chest is a little too tight, that's your time to do a little stretching if you need it. It's not going to completely change the size, but it can certainly help give a little bit more positive ease in that case. All right, so you're just going to set it. Now, the blocking mats are great because it does allow for air circulation to go underneath your project, okay? And that's going to make it dry more thoroughly instead of just top down. Towels, because they're usually cotton, what they do is they kind of have this, they wick the water away, but it stays on the towel. So the chance of it's damp, it's going to be under there. It's not going to be as quick to dry. And you know, there's always a chance if it's something heavy and thick that there could be some mold and yuck that gets underneath it. Okay, so nice blocking mats. You have something like T-pins. So T-pins you can use, and you can mark exactly where you want this to stretch. If you have stripes that you want to stay even, you put them across. You can use these as lines, and you just kind of find a spot and you just push it in. It's not rocket science. You just kind of slap it in there. We have other types of pins too. So if you have knit blockers, so knit blockers like these ones that we have here, I just sold out 2 of my other ones. These are in a row, and so that's good for nice and straight lines, things like that. So you set it down. If you have a fan, you can put the fan over it to dry it out. But what you don't want to do is put it outside in the sunshine. Why? Well, because you know how your skin tans when it's out in the sunshine? The heat and the sun and the UV rays can definitely degrade what you've got going on with your material. So don't risk it. It can fade your material, and it can definitely, with heat can felt. Not everything is easy to felt. Certain things are much easier. Wool is much easier to felt than camel. Okay, but the fact is that there's always that potential. And you don't want the fading. I mean, you've just done all this beautiful work, and now it's going to be spotty and faded. No one wants that. And also, when you've got this downtime, don't be doing your nails next to it, because nail polish remover, that will degrade any of your materials. So it will certainly can put holes, it will fade, it will hurt it. It will hurt it. Nobody needs that. All right? So just give it the time that it needs. If it needs a day, great. If it needs 3 days, perfect. If it's something like a sweater, they have different types of boards and things that kind of pop up, and then they have mesh and it dries so it's underneath it. That's great too, but don't rush the process, okay? Make sure it's nice and dry. Now, if you've put something in storage and then in the fall you take it out and it is kind of squished down and matted, there are a few things you can do to kind of puff it back up. One of those things is with your, those professional looking steam things you can do with your iron. You don't want to get too hot or too close to the project though, because again, it can melt. But if you just want to, it will kind of repuff up things that have sat for a while or have gotten flat if the material has kind of, because of it needs a little spritzing, right? There's that available to you. You can air dry some products in the dryer for 3-4 minutes. No heat though. You don't want to heat, because heat can shrink and it can destroy the follicles of a lot of these natural fibers and protein based yarn. Okay, so those are some options that you have. I mean, that's why if you're making pom-poms with wool, you can with your iron, okay, spritz the heck out of that thing, and it makes your all puffy and beautiful, but at the same time, because it could chance of shrinking and melting some of your fibers. So always read what the instructions say, and all those little labels, they mean different things. And so just the tiny numbers can change. Oh, it should be on lukewarm, or it should be on cold, or you can put this in hot water. This can be machine washed. This can't be machine washed. Okay, I did a segment. It's the only other one that we've got here for Irreverent Knits where I'm by myself, because once again, Judi had a life, and it didn't involve just sitting here and being at my beck and call, and that's rude. I know, right? Okay, so anyway, so those are some hints as we get closer to the winter months, or at least storing the winter products away, because we're getting into the beautiful warm season. So hopefully that helps get an understanding of why you should wet block or dry block or squish block, whatever we're calling it. Read the labels, but again, this is a great finishing touch to any project you have. If you have any questions, always check with your local yarn store, because that's what we're here for. And you can always reach out to me at shrimpandknits.com. And that's how you find me. I'm Tracy from Low Country Shrimp and Knits. And you know, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you share it, because I'm just a little tiny shop and I would love all the help I can get to grow. Okay, so here I am in Bluffton. Stop by if you're here on vacation in Hilton Head Island, and you can always reach out to me. Check out my email, my webpage at shrimpandknits.com. And thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to subscribe, okay? Because I got all kinds of crazy things going on here. I want to share it with you. All right, take care.